everyone. Now in my last video I had started with you in this chapter, The Lost Child. This is the first chapter from your supplementary reader. Introduction and the first page I had done in the last video. So there we saw that how the child goes into the affair with his parents and he is too much absorbed in the different things that he gets to see all around, all the material aspects. So all the toys shop is there one by one and then different attractions comes for him. So it was the dragonflies, a swarm of dragonflies, and then there was he enters into a groove where he has the flower petals falling on him, showering on him from top. And each time he gets a new distraction, he forgets about the past one. He gets drawn towards the new one. He wants to buy it, he wants to possess it, he wants to have for himself. And every time we see that his parents constantly refuse him. They have a strict eye on him. They will give different reasons trying to say him, explain him how he should not be running after them. The mother was a bit tender. The father strictly refused him each time, whereas mother was a bit tender and she tried to explain the child to look what is before the child, rather than pining for, rather than crying for whatever he has left behind. But these little words or small instructions are not enough when it is given to a young child. So he continues with that habit on and on. Now I'll continue reading further and let's see what happens. So they were passing through this footpath. By the side there was the mustard field full of yellow flowers. There is a description where the author says it looks like melting gold. So molten gold, melt gold is as if poured all over the field. So such was the color. It was beautiful. By the side there was also the groove where they had rested for some time, and now they are again about entering the fair. And it's full of crowd, jostling crowd, all over people, all over stalls and shops. So I'll read from page 3 to find out further what happens with the child. Please follow the text as I'm reading. As they neared the village, the child could see many other footpaths full of throngs. Throngs over here refers to people, full of people, the crowd over here, converging to the whirlpool of the fair, and felt at once repelled and fascinated by the confusion of the world he was entering. So it was a new world as if in which he was entering. The village fair, lanes and footpaths from different angles, all were converging into that one field. A sweetmeat seller hawked gulab jamun, rasgulla, burfi, jalebi. At the corner of the entrance and a crowd pressed round his counter at the foot of an architecture of many coloured sweets, decorated with leaves of silver and gold. The child started open-eyed and his mouth watered for the burfi. That was his favourite sweet. I want that burfi, he slowly murmured. Murmured is slowly, whispered. Why slowly? Because he can't be shouting and crying for it. He knows his parents will refuse. But he half knew as he begged that his plea would not be heeded because his parents would say he was greedy. So without waiting for an answer, he moved on. So somewhere even he knows that even no matter how much he asked for it, he cried for it, his parents will refuse. So yes, he wanted to have particularly the burfi the moment he saw the sweetmeat seller and all the other displayed sweets, but this time he only controlled himself. For he knew the answer that his parents each time will give a reason for refusal, and perhaps this time the reason could be that he was being greedy. So he only, the little child only controlled himself and he did not cry for it. A flower seller hawked a garland of gulmohar, a garland of gulmohar. The child seemed irresistibly drawn. I've given over here the meaning. Irresistible means hard to control. So he is being extremely drawn, attracted towards each of these things. He is finding it very hard to control himself. He went towards the basket where the flowers lay, heaped and half murmured, I want that garland. But he well knew his parents would refuse to buy him those flowers because they would say that they were cheap. So without waiting for an answer, he moved on. This time, the answer for refusal from his parents could be, flowers are very cheap, why to go and buy the flowers, the garland. So this time also he let go of his demand. He wanted the garland, but he kept quiet. A man stood holding a pole with yellow, red, green and purple balloons flying from it. The child and he was filled with an overwhelming desire to possess them all. But he knew his parents would never buy him the balloons because they would say he was too old to play with such toys. So he walked on further. Next distraction he gets on his way to the fair is with the balloon. The balloon seller is there standing. There is a stick or a pole, and tied to it is all the balloons of different colors. So it was a rainbow color, a full life, full of colors right before him. He wanted to possess them, but yes, this time the reason for refusal could be, and he was right in guessing it. His parents said that how he was a grown-up boy. He was too old, not young enough anymore to play like a little child with the balloons. So they moved on. A snake charmer stood playing a flute to a snake which coiled itself in a basket, its head raised in a graceful bend like the neck of a swan, when the music stole into its invisible ears, like the gentle rippling of an invisible waterfall. The child went towards the snake charmer, but knowing his parents had forbidden him to hear such coarse music as the snake charmer played, he proceeded further. The next distraction over here is of a snake charmer. Now here we don't get to see of all these things so much, but in rural side, villages side, it's a very common sight. Where the snake charmer comes, he will have the bean in his hand, the flute, the snake flute. There will be the basket where he brings the snake. It will be coiled, and the moment the lid is lifted, the snake gets up. He rakes and spreads its hood, and then the music starts, to which the snake will be gliding and dancing to the tune. So such a thing when he saw was happening, he wanted to go forward to see it. But alas, this time the reason was the music is very coarse. It wasn't perhaps, it was something very gentle which was going on. The snake was dancing to its tune, but his parents gave this reason, for they did not want the child to go on and see the dance of a snake. So they say the music is coarse, better not to go there. So what is going on over here is each time something new coming on his way. Each time he wants to go for it, but sometimes he is holding himself, sometimes his parents are holding himself. Every time, so it's a strict refusal for him. Now, the last paragraph of this page, this is page number 3. There was a roundabout in full swing. Men, women and children, carried away in a whirling motion, shrieked and cried with dizzy laughter. The child watched them intently, and then he made a bold request. I want to go on to the roundabout. Please, mother and father. So next he spotted a roundabout. That is a big one which you see in the fairs, the merry-go-round. It is quite a great in a height, and it will be going up and down in a roundabout motion. People seated on the seats, they will be, because of the height, just shrieking away, crying and shouting, enjoying themselves, of course. And he was completely intently absorbed. Intently over here means being absorbed. So intently he was looking at it. He was completely engrossed, absorbed by the laughter, the enjoyment which was going on for those people. And this time he was a little more adamant. Like every time it was a no for him, this time he wanted to be sure. He wants to go to this merry-go-round, this roundabout, and have a ride. This time he will not accept just a straight refusal from his parents. Okay, so I hope you have understood till here. I will stop till here. The lesson continues, of course, which I will continue also in my next class, my next video. Go through this. If you have any doubt, you can WhatsApp to your teacher. So thank you everyone.